Continuing with our discussion, we bring you the following report from our correspondent, Mary McCarthy. She traveled to Denver, Colorado, and met a family that, despite their status as professionals, have found themselves submerged in poverty. It's the high cost of living that has kept families like this one, middle class, from achieving the American dream.
For Grace and Tom, this isn't the life they imagined when they got married 12 years ago.
Certainly, we are considered to be in poverty at this point, even though people who know us probably aren't aware of that.
They are enchanted. You only need to see them by moonlight to realize this.
She has a master's degree but stays at home with their 4 kids. Tom has a doctorate in music and held steady teaching jobs for a decade until he was laid off a year ago.
It's really hard to get interviews. There's very few of these jobs out there for my field. And I'm competing against a whole host of people who are a lot younger and a lot less expensive.
Even after cutting back on expenses as much as possible, the family is on the verge of losing its home.
And we've pretty much canceled everything that we can cancel, and just reduced so much, you know. Certainly things like holidays and stuff are not at the previous level they used to be. Food budget is different than it used to be, things like that.
An educated, middle-class family in poverty. Economist Mark Schneider says this is a symptom of the economic downturn that began with the 2008 financial crisis.
Part of this has to do with what we call recovery. As far as those sort of real on-the-ground issues of making income, making ends meet, being employed gainfully, the recovery has been painfully slow, and we are far away from what I would call a healthy situation of employment in the United States.
When Tom first lost his job, he thought it was a temporary hardship, but now he sees no end in sight.
It was very humbling, very frustrating. Felt pretty humbling to find myself unemployed, not getting interviews. Say this, since the beginning of this year, I've applied for jobs in just about any field I can possibly think I might be qualified for.
He recently accepted a job significantly below his skill level. He's working as an instrument repair technician, making $12 an hour. That's a third of what he used to make. And even when he had a teacher's salary, life was precarious, with little chance to save for their own retirement or for their children's university education.
Well, I'm thinking about when he was teaching and the income level that he had then, it never felt like absolutely comfortable.
The family has applied for and now receives government assistance to pay for food. But for middle-class Americans like them who've fallen on hard times, there are few resources available. Marcus Schneider argues that that's key social infrastructure that's missing in U.S. society.
Like investment in those social safety nets, right? Help making sure that when people hit a rough spot or the economy hits a rough spot, and it's not any fault of any individual person, that doesn't undermine their ability to then recover as individual households and families.
According to the Global Wealth Data Book, America's middle class is falling further and further behind as compared to other countries, ranking just 19th in the world when it comes to median wealth. For Americans like Tom and Grace, these days even a basic middle-class lifestyle seems painfully out of reach. I'm Mary McCarthy for Telesur in Denver.